This man, Pooh Shiesty, got out of jail some months ago. Made a song called First Day Out, right? First day out of what? First day out of jail. Cool, that's how it happens. Didn't like the contract he was in. Called up Gucci Man, his label owner, set up a meeting, and then tried to force the man to sign out the contract, put guns to his head, robbed him, robbed the people that was with him, and now he's going back to jail, okay?
That's pretty shiesty.
Reports started circulating that Pooh Shiesty was jumped inside a federal facility by multiple people reportedly affiliated with the Crips. And the details that came out, including him being left in critical condition with a tooth knocked out, spread across the entire rap internet within hours. But here's the thing, this isn't a random story about prison violence. Every single piece of this makes sense once you understand the specific world Pooh Shiesty walked into when those gates closed behind him. And that world is way more complicated than most people on the outside realize. Let me set the foundation first. Pooh Shiesty, real name Lantrell Donnell Williams Jr., is a rapper out of Memphis, Tennessee. Born in 2000, he was literally 20 years old when he blew up. His debut mixtape, Shiesty Season, dropped in January 2021 and debuted at number 4 on the Billboard 200. That's not an album, that's a free mixtape charting top 5 nationally. Then, Back in Blood with Lil Durk went certified platinum multiple times. The boy was genuinely on fire. Then, in October 2021, he pleaded guilty to a federal charge of conspiracy to commit robbery connected to an incident in Bay Harbor Islands, Florida in 2020. In August 2022, he was sentenced to 5 years and 3 months. In the federal system, you serve 85% of your sentence, no early release for good behavior the way state prison works. He was sent to a low-security federal correctional institution. And that's where this story really begins. Before you can understand why Crips specifically would be targeting D, you need to understand prison gang politics. Because without that context, random violence, it is not random. Pooh Shiesty is from Memphis, Tennessee. Memphis has its own distinct street culture, homegrown sets and affiliations that developed independently from LA or Chicago. But Pooh Shiesty has been publicly associated with blood-affiliated circles through his connections with artists and people in his network who rep blood sets. That association, whether explicitly claimed or just implied through proximity, follows you. Federal prisons are different from state facilities in one critical way. They house people from everywhere. You might be from Memphis, but inside you're locked up with people from Compton, South Central, Chicago, New York. All of them brought their affiliations with them. When you have a prominent figure associated with a blood-affiliated circle walking into a facility with a significant Crips population, that is a recipe for exactly the kind of conflict that reportedly went down. This is not senseless. In the world of federal prison gang politics, it's almost structurally inevitable. Now here's where being famous makes your situation worse, not better. A lot of people assume that having platinum records and millions of followers would give you some kind of protection inside. Like, people know who you are, respect the music, maybe you get a pass. That is not how it works. In federal prison, your reputation on the outside means virtually nothing. What matters is where you're from, what your affiliations are on the inside, and whether you're willing to hold your ground physically. If anything, being famous makes you a target. You become a trophy. Making a name by testing you is valuable to certain people. And there's the financial angle. Everyone knows Pooh Shiesty has money outside, meaning people on the outside can put money on his commissary books. In prison, that makes you a target for extortion. Give up commissary or face consequences. For someone with resources, refusing to pay can escalate into exactly the kind of coordinated violent situation that reportedly happened here. Being famous and having money in federal prison can genuinely make your circumstances more dangerous. So, why doesn't he just go into protective custody, PC, and remove himself from the situation? This is the question everyone asks, and the answer reveals something important about the impossible position he's in. Protective custody is a separate housing unit where inmates at risk can be separated from general population. On paper, it's the obvious solution. Famous rapper at risk, go to PC, stay safe. But in prison culture, requesting PC carries one of the heaviest stigmas possible. Going to PC is seen as an admission that you cannot handle yourself in general population. It's called checking in. And once you're labeled as someone who checked in, that label doesn't stay inside the walls. It follows you out. On the streets, people will say you couldn't hold your own. You ran. For someone like D, whose entire brand is built on being authentic, on representing Memphis, on being the real deal, going into PC would contradict everything he's put out into the world. His music, his persona, his credibility are directly tied to that image. Street culture and prison culture are not separate ecosystems. A decision made inside absolutely affects your standing when you walk back out. So he's caught between two genuinely terrible options: ask for protection and take a permanent credibility hit that damages his career and his reputation, or stay in general population and remain at physical risk. There is no clean choice here. That's an almost impossible dilemma for a young man in his early 20s. What people on the outside don't understand is what his actual day-to-day looks like in there. There are no special accommodations for platinum records, no private cell, no better food, no upgraded bunk. In a low-security federal facility, you're in a dormitory-style setting. Open bays, multiple people, very little privacy. You're living in close quarters with people from completely different backgrounds, regions, and affiliations around the clock. Some of that name recognition opens doors. People know who you are, some respect the music. But it cuts both ways. Some people want to test whether the image matches reality. Some people want to see what they can take from you. And the constant background pressure of that, every interaction carrying potential weight, is a different kind of stress than most people ever experience. Add to that the psychological reality of watching your career pause while the world keeps moving. New artists emerging. People who were coming up alongside you continuing to build. Streaming royalties still coming in, but no ability to participate. No studio, no shows, extremely limited communication. That psychological weight is brutal. And now on top of it, physical violence severe enough to make national news. Getting a tooth knocked out isn't a minor injury that comes from one punch. That's the kind of damage that happens when you're taking hits from multiple angles, when you're down and can't fully defend yourself, when multiple people are coordinating an assault simultaneously. A jump doesn't happen in 1 second. People have to move together. They have to position. The fact that it escalated to that level inside a federal facility means the system didn't catch it coming or couldn't stop it in time. The Bureau of Prisons has a responsibility to protect every person in its custody, regardless of whether they're famous, regardless of what they're in for. When someone ends up in critical condition after a coordinated group assault in a federal facility, that is an institutional failure. There are supposed to be protocols: medical evaluation, documentation, investigation, consequences for the people who carried out the attack. But even when those protocols are followed after the fact, they don't address the conditions that led to the attack. If the underlying dynamics haven't changed, if the same affiliations are still in the same facility, if the target is still in general population, then you're just waiting for the next incident. And that's the most sobering part of this whole story. Because this isn't just about the same dynamics, gang politics, impossible choices between safety and credibility, inadequate staff to inmate ratios, institutional slow responses to conflict are playing out for thousands of incarcerated people whose names never make the news. People who don't have platinum records or social media accounts amplifying their situations. The conditions that put Pooh Shiesty in danger are the same conditions those people are navigating right now. At the center of all this is Lantrell Donnell Williams Jr., somebody's son, a genuinely talented artist who made real mistakes and is serving time for them, but who also has the right to basic physical safety while he does. That's not a controversial statement. That's just the minimum standard of how any person in custody should be treated. He's in his early 20s. His whole career is still in front of him if he comes home intact. The question that nobody can answer right now is what condition he'll be in when he walks out, physically and psychologically, after all of this. That's what makes this story matter beyond the headlines. Drop a comment. Do you think the federal system is doing enough to protect inmates in situations like this? And subscribe if you want more breakdowns like this. No fluff, just the real picture.